Hello and welcome. Have you ever wanted to speak German but just had no idea where to even begin? Well, in the next few minutes, we are going to get you set up with all the essentials for your very first German conversation. And before we jump in, if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Okay, let's do this. So, here's the big question. Are you ready? Because I promise by the end of this, you are going to have every key phrase you need to introduce yourself and actually get to know someone new. Let's dive right in.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll cover how to break the ice with some simple greetings. Then we're going to move on to asking some basic questions. After that, we'll add a little more detail to make things interesting. And finally, we'll put it all together and see what a real conversation looks like.
Okay, first things first, you got to know how to say hello. This section is all about those fundamental building blocks, the stuff you're going to use every single time you talk to someone in German.
You'll notice that German greetings can be pretty specific about the time of day. You've got Guten Morgen for the morning, Guten Tag for the main part of the day, and Guten Abend for the evening. But, if you want a simple go-to that works anytime, anywhere, just say hello. Can't go wrong with that one.
Just as important as hello is knowing how to say goodbye. And this is where we hit a really key concept in German: formality. You'd use the more formal Auf Wiedersehen with, say, an official or a shopkeeper, but the much more casual Tschüss with friends. You'll also hear stuff like bis später, which just means see you later, all the time.
Let's wrap up our basics with a few magic words. Danke for thank you, and bitte for you're welcome. And look, that formal versus informal thing pops up again with nice to meet you. You'll use dich for informal situations and Sie for formal ones. Keep an eye on that pattern. It is a huge key to unlocking the language.
All right, we've officially broken the ice. Now it's time to actually get to know the person we're talking to. Let's build on what we just learned and start firing off some of those basic questions. Okay, pay close attention here because this is probably one of the most important things for any beginner. Showing respect through language is a really big deal in German culture. Du is your informal you. Think friends, family, people your own age. Sie is the formal you, for strangers, older people, or in any kind of professional setting. Here's the golden rule. If you're ever in doubt, just start with Sie. The great thing here is you've got options, and they're all totally correct. You can say Ich heiße Ziad, which literally means I am called Ziad. Or Mein Name ist Ziad, my name is Ziad. Or my favorite, the simple and direct Ich bin Ziad, I am Ziad. Just pick whichever one feels easiest for you to remember.
And that same du versus Sie rule applies when you're asking where someone is from. Woher kommst du is your informal, friendly way to ask. Woher kommen Sie is the more formal, polite version. See? Once you spot this pattern, it really starts to click.
And the answer is nice and easy. Ich komme aus, which just means I come from, and then you pop your country in at the end. For example, ich komme aus Ägypten for Egypt, ich komme aus Marokko for Morocco, or ich komme aus Deutschland for Germany. Simple. Okay, so we've covered names and where you're from. Now let's add a few more layers to make our conversation a little richer, a little more interesting. We're going to talk about where you live, what languages you speak, and of course, how you're doing. And as you can probably guess, that formal and informal pattern just keeps on going. It's consistent for all sorts of questions. Whether you're asking where do you live or what languages do you speak, the verb is going to change a little bit depending on if you're using the informal du or the formal Sie. Seriously, mastering this one little rule opens up so much of the language. So when someone asks what languages you speak, you've got some great ways to answer. You can state your native language, meine Muttersprache ist Arabisch. You can list off the languages you know, ich spreche English und Deutsch. Or, and this one is going to be your best friend as a learner, you can say, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. That means I speak a little German. Perfect, right? All right, now for an absolute classic. A question you are going to hear all the time. Wie geht's dir? This is the informal way to ask, how are you? Or maybe more literally, how's it going for you? And how do you answer that? Well, you've got a whole range of options. On the positive side, you could say sehr gut, which is very good, or even just super. If you're feeling kind of so-so, a simple na ja works perfectly. And hey, if things aren't going so well, you can be honest and say schlecht for bad or sehr schlecht for very bad. Okay, we have learned all the individual pieces of the puzzle. Now for the really exciting part. Let's put them all together and see how they actually work in a short, totally realistic conversation. You'll see that a basic conversation like this follows a really logical path. You start with greetings and names to figure out who you're talking to. Then, you usually move on to where you're from to learn about each other's background. And a supernatural follow-up, especially for travelers, is to talk about language. It's a simple, predictable flow. Ready to see it in action? So our conversation kicks off. Ziad says, "Hello, my name is Ziad, and you." By using hello and do right away, he's setting a really friendly and informal tone for the chat. Ahmed responds in the same friendly way, introducing himself. But then he immediately asks a question to keep the ball rolling. Woher kommst du? Where are you from? This is a perfect way to show that you're engaged and interested. Ziad answers. And then he does something really smart. He asks a follow-up question using the word auch, which means also or to. Kommst du auch aus Ägypten? Do you also come from Egypt? See how that makes the conversation feel so much more natural? Nein, no, gives his own origin, and then he smoothly pivots the topic to language by asking, Sprichst du Deutsch? Do you speak German? This is such a common and logical next step in a conversation like this. And here it is, that fantastic phrase we learned earlier. Ja, ein bisschen. Yes, a little. This is the perfect, honest, and humble answer for anyone who's still learning. It totally manages expectations and shows you're making an effort, which people really appreciate. So there you have it, the greetings, the core questions, and a whole dialogue to see how it all fits together. You now have the essential toolkit to go out and have your very own first conversation. The only question left is, who are you going to talk to first? This explainer was prepared by Mr. Ziad Frege. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this a like.